Hey guys, it's Greg here from Clutch Coaching. Today I'm going to put together a bit of a video for you about the upcoming T20 World Cup, which has of course already started, but the real tournament is just about to begin. One more round of the qualifying matches to go. We've pretty much locked in which team should fit where, barring an upset. But I'm going to go through for you how the groups are shaping up, how the pitch conditions and some of the venues may affect the tournament, how they may affect some of the matchups, what I think some of the most defining matchups are going to be, the most critical matchups in terms of who gets out of the pools, and then I will hit you with some predictions for how I think the semi-final and the final will play out. So before I crack into it, if you're anything like me and stuck at home in level 3 in Hamilton and you're wanting to work on your cricket but you can't because you can't go to the nets, you can still work on your mental game. So if you go to clutchcoaching.co.nz/the mental edge, you can book a 30-minute Zoom call with me where we talk about how we can work on the mental game coming into the cricket season. So let's crack into it. Sweet. So in Group 1, we have a very strong group. We have England, Australia, South Africa, West Indies, who are the defending champions, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Group 2, we have India, Pakistan, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Scotland, and Ireland. So I think Group 1, we're looking at some really strong teams with those fill-in teams, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Obviously, barring an upset with these fill-in teams because there is one round to go, those fill-in teams are going to be really strong and they're going to play really well in those subcontinental conditions that we are coming across in the World Cup. So, very strong pool. It'll be interesting to see who makes it out of there. I think England are going to be a little bit too strong. Number 1 in the world. I can't see them losing 2 matches. It is T20, so it wouldn't surprise me if they dropped one. But out of these teams, I don't see 2 teams that are going to beat them. In Group 2, I think India, Pakistan, and New Zealand will all rate their chances getting out of this pool. Especially not having to face Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. I think everyone's going to be pretty thrilled about that. Scotland obviously have had this amazing run so far in the qualifying stages, so all the best to them. But I think India are going to be too strong in this pool, I think, but you never know. So moving on to the pitch conditions, 3 of the venues were actually used also in the IPL, so we can learn a little bit about how they're going to play in the T20 format. Pitches obviously don't come into it as much in T20 as they might in a test match, and the toss may not be as important to win. But with some of these venues, it really does show that, bowling first or batting first does give teams a real advantage in the range of like 70 upward even percent of the team that wins the toss goes on to win the game. So there is definitely a huge factor here that we can look into, and it's great that we can learn from the IPL to see how some of them play. First of all, we're looking at Sharjah. Has been a bit of a batter's paradise in the past, so the past scores you're looking at that venue probably aren't going to be very accurate because the pitch has been recently relayed, and since it's been relayed, it looks to really favour spin and guys that can take the pace off the ball, change the pace, and get a bit of purchase off the deck there. So that's going to be a really interesting wicket, and it's going to favour teams that obviously bowl spin well, but I think it's going to favour teams more so that play spin well, and I think teams that don't play spin that well may get found out. So that'll be an interesting venue to keep an eye on. Dubai is the second one. Seam bowlers have actually been historically more successful at this venue than the spinners. What makes Dubai really interesting is when you play on the outer edges of the block, that creates a really short boundary on one side. So it's going to be a real test for the captains strategically, which end are you bowling your spin bowlers from, which end are you bowling your pace bowlers from. Can we get some right hand, left hand combos going at the crease, and strategically there is going to be that next level going on, which is which is really important because the semi-final and the final are going to be played at that ground. The final venue is Abu Dhabi, quite a better friendly venue and quite conducive to successful run chases. It's not as hot now over there, so what we'll be seeing is dew on the field, particularly in the second innings, and that should favour the batting side. Could be a little bit harder for the spin bowlers to bowl well, get purchased off the wicket, and could be a little bit tough to field in. So should be really, really good T20 viewing with big scores and really, really tight, really good run chases. So really excited for that one there. Overall, because the World Cup's being played in October and November, the stats show us that bowling first will give most teams at most venues an advantage, more so as the tournament progresses. So that's going to be something to consider. Some of the more defining matchups. First of all, we have Australia versus South Africa. One of the early games in the tournament, and I think it's going to be potentially make or break for both of these teams because they are in such a tough pool. West Indies and England are the other two really strong sides in this group, and the fact is, if either of these teams lose, they are going to be playing England in a must-win game. So a hugely important game for both these teams. It's being played at Abu Dhabi, which is going to favour teams that bat well. I think this is going to be right up Australia's alley, to be honest with you. I think Australia can take a lot of confidence if they perform well in this game. Put a lot of runs on the board, take that confidence into the next game. And I just don't rate South Africa that highly in this tournament. They do have some good players. They do have one of the best spinners in the world. But I just see them having taken better teams into World Cups in the past and not performing. I don't think they're taking as strong of a team in, and I don't think the outcome's going to be any better than it has been in the past. So I do like Australia's chances in that matchup there, but like I said, it's going to be huge for both teams. The next matchup I really like from the other group is India versus Pakistan. It's going to be played in Dubai, which I don't think is going to have a big factor on the outcome of the game. India, Pakistan, one of the really, really good rivalries in world cricket. Both teams have really good pace bowling attacks, and both teams have really, really good batsmen. It may just be a matter of whose day it is with the bat or the ball. But India have this outstanding record in World Cups against Pakistan. They tend to get up for those big games, and Pakistan can be a little bit inconsistent. In Pakistan's first game of the ODI World Cup, they got bundled out for 100 against the West Indies. And then this third game they played England and scored 330. So I think the combination of India being this really strong team, really consistent, having a great record over Pakistan, Pakistan maybe not being that consistent, maybe having a slow start in tournaments, really gives the edge to India in this matchup. Which takes us to the next matchup, which is Pakistan playing the Black Caps. Third versus fourth in the world rankings for T20, and I think Pakistan are really going to benefit from that first hit out against India. And that venue is Sharjah, which I think really favours Pakistan. The Black Caps do have some obviously great spin bowlers in Ish Sodhi, Santner, but I think Pakistan probably are going to go out and play spin in these conditions a little bit better than the Black Caps will. So I probably give the edge to Pakistan in this one. A bit of a grudge match for them as well. Obviously, the Black Caps bailing on their most recent tour there, so I think Pakistan are going to have a lot of motivation in this one, unfortunately. The next matchup from that same group there is Black Caps versus India. That's the Black Caps' second game, and bit of a sink or swim start for the Black Caps here. It is Pakistan and India first up, and if you lose both of those, you are playing 4 fun games on the off winning all of them on the off chance that Pakistan or India then drop a game to one of the lesser sides, which I don't know if I can see happening. So it's a huge matchup for the Black Caps here against India, especially if they lose that first one to Pakistan. It's being played in Dubai, which I think actually favours the pace attack of the Black Caps a little bit more. And I actually do like this matchup for the Black Caps. India is such a strong team, it's always a big ask to beat them in these tournaments, but we've done it before, and I think it's not the end of the world for the Black Caps if they do lose to Pakistan. I can see them bouncing back and beating India here, and giving themselves a great chance of getting out of the pool. The last game I'm going to talk about near the end of the pool stages is Australia versus West Indies. Like I've said, I don't rate South Africa's chances in this tournament, and I think England are going to be too good. I just can't see them losing more than one game if they lose any. So I think this is effectively going to be a quarterfinal matchup here. Australia versus West Indies, fighting it out for that second place position in the pool. I think both teams are going to like that it's being played in Abu Dhabi. I think it's going to suit both teams, but I think, especially since it's near the back end of the tournament, it's going to really allow the West Indies to have got going by this point. I think the West Indies match up really well here, and are going to be incredibly motivated to defend their title in this World Cup. So I'm going to go with the West Indies here. I think they're going to be underdogs, but I think they have the team to beat the Australians in that matchup there. A few notable mentions here. Sri Lankan cricket has been on the decline lately over the last few years, and they obviously have to now qualify to even make it to the Super 12 of the T20 World Cup. Do they have the potential to upset any teams in this strong pool? I actually think they do. I think South Africa and Australia in these conditions could be teams that Sri Lanka play really well against. I don't think they're going to get out of their pool, but I could see them pushing third or fourth, which, considering the recent performances, I think a third place finish in the pool here, Sri Lanka would have to be very happy with. Like I said, I think it's going to be a rough tournament for South Africa. I think they're in a really hard pool. I think they've got 5 really hard games, and I just don't think they've got the team for it. Bangladesh, same pool, similar boat in these subcontinental conditions here. Look, I think third's probably a little bit too high for them to aim, but I think that South Africa matchup, the Australian matchup, and the recent success, especially they've had against Australia when Australia played over there, I wouldn't write Bangladesh out of creating a bit of an upset there. Last of all is Afghanistan. Always a good time to watch Rashid Khan bowling. I think teams are going to, for the most part, have no choice other than to respect his 4 overs and go after the other guys, which could open the gate for another guy to perform really well, or to really tie up the run rate right through the middle, or the sort of crucial stages when teams really want to get going in the T20 match. So I think Afghanistan are going to be a threat. They only play one game at Sharjah, which is against, I think it's against like Ireland or Scotland. So it's probably not in their best interests. The venues for the tournament probably doesn't suit them. If they're playing the Black Caps in Sharjah, if they were playing Pakistan, could be a different story. Rashid Khan could be absolutely deadly. But I don't think Afghanistan should upset any of those top 3 teams. Although they did beat the West Indies in their warm-up game. That was a really interesting one. Looking at the scorecard, West Indies lost by like 40 runs and never looked like they were really going for the target. I'm not sure if they were just treating it like batting practice, but it kind of looked like West Indies batted 20 overs, thinking they were chasing 190, and then they were like 140 after their 20 overs, and someone said, okay guys, come on in, and they thought they were going to bet another 30 overs. So I don't really know what West Indies were doing there, but a warm-up game's a warm-up game. Afghanistan played well. They've probably got better batting than they've ever had before in the past, so if they're ever going to upset a team in the World Cup, here's their chance. We'll move on to the predictions. I think in Group 1, England and West Indies are going to progress. Like I said, England, they're just going to be too good. West Indies, I think, perform well on these, especially the T20s, and I think they're going to go through. In Group 2, I've actually got a three-way tie at the top between India, Pakistan and the Black Caps, and unfortunately for the Black Caps, it may depend on run rate, which we haven't come out on the right side of in previous tournaments. But fingers crossed there. In terms of the tournament winner, I think India are going to be a little bit too good. I think they're going to just get better as the tournament progresses. They play a bunch of games in... They play a bunch of games in Dubai, which is where the semi-final and the final is, so they're going to be really used to that ground as well. By the time the semi-final comes around, I think they're super consistent. I think they've got the bowling and the batting, and a bunch of IPL players who are really acclimatized to these conditions, will be used to the pitches and the venues. So I think India are rightful favourites. I'm going to be super boring and pick them to win the whole thing. But I think, yeah, they can beat England, and they can beat the West Indies. They can obviously beat Pakistan, but I think those sort of dark horse teams, West Indies, Pakistan, may struggle with consistency in the tournament a little bit. So that's why I've just gone for the boring pick in India to win it. So yeah, cheers for watching, and it's going to be a great tournament to watch. Looking forward to it.